They told everyone I gave up, said I quit chasing something big for something small. They stopped asking questions. They started telling my story for me. But the truth? It was never loud. It was just waiting for the right moment to speak. My name is Evelyn. I'm 31, living in a small apartment above a bookstore in Seattle. I make my own coffee, pay my bills, and apparently, I'm still the family disappointment. I was supposed to be the golden child, the doctor, the overachiever. But I dropped out of med school in my second year. No scandal, no drama, just burnout. The kind of empty that no one noticed because I still smiled at Christmas dinner. When I left, my father didn't speak to me for months. My mother cried quietly and told everyone I was taking a break. My younger brother, Ryan, moved on. He became the family's new pride. Finance degree, corner office, perfect fiancé. Me? I started teaching tech basics to seniors for cash, for sanity, for something to fill my days. It felt like failure at first. Then it felt like purpose. One-on-one lessons turned into group classes, then webinars, then an online platform I called Elderbright. Our mission: helping people over 60 stay connected in a digital world that keeps leaving them behind. We taught email, video calls, online banking, digital safety, even how to spot fake news before it spread. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a unicorn startup. But it was working, and it was changing lives. They told everyone I gave up, said I quit chasing something big for something small. They stopped asking questions. They started telling my story for me. But the truth? It was never loud. It was just waiting for the right moment to speak. My name is Evelyn. I'm 31, living in a small apartment above a bookstore in Seattle. I make my own coffee, pay my bills, and apparently, I'm still the family disappointment. I was supposed to be the golden child, the doctor, the overachiever. But I dropped out of med school in my second year. No scandal, no drama, just burnout. The kind of empty that no one noticed because I still smiled at Christmas dinner. When I left, my father didn't speak to me for months. My mother cried quietly and told everyone I was taking a break. My younger brother, Ryan, moved on. He became the family's new pride. Finance degree, corner office, perfect fiancé. Me? I started teaching tech basics to seniors for cash, for sanity, for something to fill my days. It felt like failure at first. Then it felt like purpose. One-on-one lessons turned into group classes, then webinars, then an online platform I called Elderbright. Our mission? Helping people over 60 stay connected in a digital world that keeps leaving them behind. We taught email, video calls, online banking, digital safety, even how to spot fake news before it spread. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a unicorn startup. But it was working, and it was changing lives. That night on the pier, I felt something shift inside me. Like the weight of years of silence was finally beginning to lift. The fog rolled in thick, but I no longer felt lost in it. I realized my family wasn't rejecting me. They were rejecting the version of me they thought they understood. And I wasn't going to let that version define my worth anymore. The next morning, the office buzzed with excitement. News of Amanda's video had spread quietly but powerfully. Calls from local media, a few nonprofit partners asking for interviews, and an unexpected email from a major aging advocacy group who wanted to feature Elderbright in their annual conference. It was all proof that my work was real, and it was making a difference. Yet I knew the hardest part was still ahead, facing my family again. When I arrived at Ryan's engagement party, I was ready, not for approval, but for acknowledgement. Amanda had shattered the quiet with her honesty, and now the silence between us couldn't hold. I caught Ryan's eye across the room. His expression was complicated, a mix of guilt and admiration. For the first time, it wasn't pity. My mother gave me a thin smile, her eyes watching me like I was a puzzle she'd never quite solved. I returned it with a nod. No apologies, no explanations, just presence. And then it happened. Amanda stood, glass raised, and addressed the room. I want to talk about something that's been invisible for too long. Olivia Reed, the woman sitting quietly in the corner, built something that's changed thousands of lives, including my grandmother's. She's not just doing some online thing, she's building a legacy. The room went still. My mother's lips parted, then pressed tight again. Ryan looked stunned, but the whispers began. Not the ones that belittled, but the ones that recognized. That was the moment the story I wanted to tell finally began to be heard. After Amanda's toast, the atmosphere transformed. People approached me with genuine curiosity instead of veiled judgment. Questions about Elder Bright, the work, the impact. For once, I was seen as more than the free spirit who gave up. My mother excused herself early, but before she left, she looked at me in a way I hadn't seen in years. No words, just a quiet nod. Maybe it was acceptance, or maybe just the start of it. Either way, it was enough for now. That night, I sat with Ryan. No lectures, no bitterness. Just two siblings, finally bridging the gap that had stretched for years. He admitted he'd been scared to ask, scared to see me different than the golden child he remembered. But hearing Amanda's words had opened a door for him. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly, eyes steady. I should have said it a long time ago. I smiled, the weight on my chest easing. This wasn't the end, not of the journey, not of the healing, but it was a beginning. Back at Elderbright, the momentum continued. Partnerships blossomed, funding grew, and with Jamie's help, the platform evolved faster than I'd ever imagined. More stories poured in, of seniors reconnecting, families healing, lives transformed by something as simple as a video call. But as the success grew, so did the pressure. There were new challenges, competitors trying to copy our model, skeptics doubting the sustainability, and sometimes the quiet fear that maybe this wasn't enough, that my family's shadow would always loom over me. Yet every message, every story like Amanda's, reminded me why I started. To be seen, to make a difference, to rewrite the narrative, not just for myself, but for anyone who's ever been written off before their story could be told. Just when I thought I was gaining solid ground, the past came crashing back in the most unexpected way. One afternoon, I received a curt email from an anonymous sender, simply titled, "You don't belong here." Inside was a link to a blog post filled with harsh criticism, rumors, half-truths, and outright lies designed to undermine everything I had built. It claimed Elderbright was a scam, that I was exploiting vulnerable seniors for profit, and accused me of hiding behind a facade of success. My heart sank. The words stung not because they were true, they weren't, but because they echoed the same cruel doubts my family once voiced. And worse, this attack wasn't just personal. It threatened the future of thousands who relied on Elderbright to stay connected. Jamie, ever my rock, immediately jumped into action. She sifted through the smear campaign, gathering evidence, preparing legal responses, and rallying our supporters online. But I knew that fighting back meant stepping into the spotlight fully, something I had avoided for years. That evening, I sat alone in my small apartment, the city lights glowing dimly through the window. For the first time in a long time, I questioned if the price of success was worth the pain. Had I sacrificed too much trying to prove myself to people who never believed in me? But then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Amanda. "Your work saved my grandmother. That's what matters. Keep fighting." Her words were a lifeline. The next day, I held a press conference. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told the truth about the attacks, about the struggle to be seen and heard. I shared stories from families whose lives Elderbright had touched, and I reminded everyone why this mission mattered. The response was overwhelming. Support flooded in from communities, advocates, and even some surprising family members who quietly admitted they'd been wrong to doubt me. But just as I thought the storm was passing, a knock at my door late one night sent a new wave of fear crashing through me. Standing in the doorway was my mother. She looked worn, her eyes shadowed with regret and exhaustion. The woman who once dismissed me as poor and lost was now here, seeking something I wasn't sure I was ready to give. "I'm sorry," she said simply, her voice breaking the silence. "I didn't understand. I see it now. What you've done." I wanted to scream at her, to tell her years of silence and judgment had left scars too deep to heal overnight. But instead, I took a deep breath and stepped aside, letting her in. We talked for hours, about mistakes, about pain, about the dreams I had nurtured in silence. She confessed how afraid she'd been. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of what my success meant for her own pride and the family's image. But she also admitted something more powerful. Pride. A deep, quiet pride in the woman I'd become. That night, I made a choice. I could keep fighting shadows of the past, or I could embrace the future I was building, not just for me, but for everyone who needed to be seen and valued. Months later, Elder Bright expanded nationwide, becoming the trusted name in elder care and connection. Ryan joined the team as a strategic advisor, bringing a fresh perspective and bridging the gap I once thought impossible to cross. My mother, she stood beside me at the company's anniversary gala, a silent but steady presence that said more than words ever could. And as I looked around the room at the faces of those whose lives had been changed, at the families reunited, the stories shared, the barriers broken, I realized something profound. Being poor in their eyes was never about money. It was about being underestimated. But now, I held the keys not just to their future, but to mine. The legacy I was writing wasn't just about Elder Bright. It was about rewriting every story where doubt tried to steal the ending, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come from the fiercest battles fought within.